Welcome back to Morbidly Bewitched. I'm taking you to Russia for a discussion regarding an extremely odd dictator's body. Stay tuned. The Tsars of Russia, the name literally meaning the dictator, the current dictator for that country. On a more serious note, just before I start this video, of just how horrendous and dangerous this position is for any one person. One human being should never have this kind of power. But it's proven to be quite fatal at the minute, because make no mistake that the decisions that's being made at the minute in Russia by Putin against the Ukraine and potentially the rest of the world is not supported by the Russian people. The civilians, I would feel quite comfortable in saying, are the complete opposite in terms of what they feel about what's happening at the minute. But as per usual, they have no choice. And with that serious note out of the way, I will move on to what this video is really about. It's about one particular dictator and his unusual preservation, Lenin. Lenin was a hero to some and a villain to most. He was born in 1870 in the town of Simbirsk. He had a brother that was a couple of years older than him called Alexander, and he had an extremely colourful past. But to cut a very, very, very long story short, he was arrested aged 26, he was exiled to Siberia. His name Vladimir Lenin actually spawned from the fact he was a ghostwriter and used the name Vladimir Lenin because it wasn't his actual name, but he ended up being called Vladimir Lenin. He was released aged 30. He moved to Munich in Germany, joined the revolutionary groups, the Bolshevik, the majority, that's what it stands for, made friends with Stalin, who was his editor, formed a coup d'etat on the Winter Palace in 1917, took the Tsar by force, instantly got accepted and appointed as the new Tsar, had the Romanovs murdered, started getting ill in his 50s, died aged 53 in January 1924. His body was embalmed and put on display. So that's brought us up to speed. Lenin's body. So his body was just embalmed. Standard embalming, nothing too fancy. Done well, but nothing too fancy. And he was put on display to be waked by the people. And they expected normally for maybe a week, at the very most 2 weeks, for his body to remain that way so that the people could come and see him. But nobody could have expected the turnout this man got. Thousands of people came to wake his body and see him on display. And the numbers didn't dwindle. If anything, they increased. This went on for over a month. And yeah, the Kremlin decided maybe we need to do something about him. Standard embalming is not going to keep this guy for much longer. The one thing that did aid was obviously the Russian winter. This was January into February, and the temperatures were so frigid that it kind of acted like he had the embalming on top of being kept in a massive fridge, which was handy. So they decided to commission a biochemist, Boris Zaborsky, and a professor of medicine, Vladimir Volviv, to experiment with different preservation methods to see what they could just do to keep old Lenin looking his best, because let's face it, he was the best looking corpse around. This would also require a lab to look after him, so they also commissioned the Center for Chemical Research and Biochemical Technologies to look after old Lenin every time they need it to. To minimize decomposition, the first thing you're going to want to do is take away the material that's not required. So Lenin's brain was removed, and to this day it remains in the Institute of Moscow. It was placed in wax and sliced into thousands of pieces, and it's still there. But his organs was also removed to minimize the decomposition, because decomposition starts off in the intestines, because it's the most nutrient rich for the bacteria to grow. So all of that's gone. The problem is, with standard embalming, what you do is essentially destroy the circulatory system, which transports the fluid through the body. So what they decided to do was concentrate on the area that you're going to see, the skin. What do? Lenin gets a bath every 18 months, whether he likes it or not. Every 18 months, yes, Lenin is taken back of house into the specialty lab, where a team of experts work on him. Because they couldn't reuse the circulatory system, they did concentrate on what's left behind, his shell, his skin. And to do that, he gets steeped. This is a process that can take up to 2 months, where Vlad's body is not on display. His clothes is removed and he is steeped. And this is a concoction that was put together by this team of professionals at the time during the experiments. And it's a perfect balance of humectants and glycerins to keep the skin supple and soft, but also antifungal, antibacterial, formaldehyde, alcohol, agents that's going to kill off anything that could start to cause deterioration. Lenin was also tailored for an extremely special kind of suit. Yes, a rubber one. So because his head and his hands are the only bits that's on display, they measured him for a purpose-built rubber suit from the neck, covering his body down to the wrists. And this suit means that they can have a fine layer of this solution permanently against his skin. When he's brought out every 18 months, that is drained, the rubber suit's removed, and he's bathed, but the fluid is also inspected. It's taken away, and there's a battery of tests ran on the fluid to see if there's any signs of any little insidious creatures or bacteria sneaking in, so that they can readjust the fluid. And finally, his entire body is inspected for any kind of signs of decay or deterioration, his actual skin. So if they see something starting to pit or wear away, they will remove that area and replace it with, again, very specifically designed wax. This isn't just your bog standard beeswax. This is, again, put together by the lab so that it perfectly matches his skin in every sense of the word, the texture, the color. So yeah, he just gets repatched, kind of like a wee sofa. What you are left with after this process and he's redressed and put on display is an absolutely perfectly flawless, almost 100-year-old corpse. However, with years and years of this mortuary plastic surgery, Vladimir Lenin's body is technically only 20% real. Yeah, he's been replaced and bathed and fixed so many times. As much as he looks absolutely fantastic, he is only about 20% Lenin. The rest is formaldehyde, plastics, waxes and resins, which is why he looks so good. Probably won't be too many years into the future before it's an entirely fabricated wax dummy on top of his skeleton. Nevertheless, he looks fantastic, and that is all thanks to money. Lots and lots of money. The Lenin lab is so advanced that it's been called upon to look after the remains of other leaders from around the world, like Vietnam and Japan. So these guys are carrying out, let's just say, a far more specific treatment than your local funeral director. So there you go. The weird preserved body of Lenin. Would you want to be preserved for that length of time? Well, I kind of thought about this, and I kind of like the whole natural thing, but at the same time, if they were going to be extremely flattering, maybe. But you can't guarantee that. You end up on display for like nearly 100 years looking like this. Oh. Join me in my next video for more creepy tales from around the world. Please subscribe and I will see you soon.